Hi there, it's Jen from modernmedicinelady.com and the Empathic Woman System, and the word of the day is insistence. And what I mean by this is the idea of specifically emotional insistence. When an emotion is so strong, is so intense, that it is insisting that it is truth, that it is insisting that it takes up all the oxygen, that it takes up all the bandwidth, that it pulls the focus, and that it is the number one priority. And what I've been thinking about this, that I think that for highly sensitive empathic people, that this can be a real challenge, because I know from my personal experience, when I was younger, I would be so completely flooded with emotions and thoughts, often that weren't even necessarily my own thoughts and feelings. And I would not know what to do, but there was a way that the intensity of it tended to just bowl me over, and it made it very hard for me to have perspective about it or recognize that it was a feeling, but it was not necessarily a fact. And perhaps you've heard that saying, feelings aren't facts. And the thing is, when there's that emotional insistence going on, at least for me, it was really hard to separate from the logical, reasonable, rational things that were going on and the intensity of the feeling that I was having, because there was such an insistence coming from the feeling that it tended to drown out absolutely everything else. And for me, it has only been through really learning a lot of skills and tools for mindfulness and learning how to really breathe and calm myself down, and to also have an ability and a willingness to just acknowledge a feeling, recognize that it is going on, and at the same time not become attached to it. That just because I'm having a feeling doesn't mean that it's true. Just because I'm having a feeling doesn't mean that it is going to result in a particular outcome. Just because I'm having a feeling doesn't mean that I need to act immediately. I can, even when I'm feeling that emotional insistence, I can still choose to sit back and to just take a breath and go, let's just watch, let's just wait, let's just see. And I had this experience the other day with somebody in my life who had heard something had happened with another person in their life, and they were very, very concerned. And they were scared, and they were feeling anxious about what was coming next. And they called me and let me know what was happening, and immediately jumped to the worst case scenario. And I know if you've watched many of my other Word of the Days, you've heard me talk about awfulizing. Well, this was one of those cases where their emotions really ran away with them, and they were awfulizing a situation and were forming conclusions about what the outcome was going to be before they actually had the information. So the emotions of fear and anxiety were causing this emotional insistence, and it was causing conclusions that actually in the long run were not true. And what they imagined was going to be an absolutely horrible outcome ended up being extremely mild and actually quite benign. And I think that's a thing about intense emotions and emotional insistence, is that it's very easy when the emotions get the reins for us to just get dragged by them down the road and forming conclusions and putting the cart before the horse when it comes to anticipating stuff, instead of just taking a breath, pausing, waiting, and saying, I don't know yet, and I can deal with the issue when it comes, but it hasn't happened yet. So I think there are a lot of tools here, and one of them is just having that willingness to wait and to see what comes even when the emotions are strong, and also the willingness to acknowledge a feeling without forming conclusions based on the feeling. So my question to you for right now is, how does this resonate for you? And where do you find yourself being swayed by emotional insistence? Where do you find yourself getting carried down the stream of emotion, and where all of the other aspects of yourself, your reasoning, your actual reality, are getting overshadowed by emotional intensity? And can you step back, acknowledge the feeling, and just watch and see what comes next if you sort of release the reins on that emotional insistence?